When my daughter-in-law said I wasn't welcome at Thanksgiving, and my son said nothing, I finally understood what I meant to them. So I made one call and changed everything. I used to believe a father's love could carry any weight. It carried the quiet after my wife Maria passed, the late fees I ignored to buy my grandson's inhaler, the pride I swallowed every time my son pretended my help was a coincidence. What I didn't know was that love, when mixed with fear, turns into a habit of humiliating yourself. It was the week of Thanksgiving. My son's living room looked like a magazine spread, gleaming hardwood floors I'd paid for, silk curtains I'd hung with my own hands, and a 12-foot tree up early, just to impress the neighbors. I sank into their new leather couch, the one the old style didn't match. I'd picked it out. My knees complained like they were 67 going on 100. Before we go on, tell us, where are you watching from? Follow our channel so you won't miss the next story. Tales of love, justice, and second chances. I could make my turkey this year, I said, almost shy. The one with the sage stuffing Maria loved. Vanilla candle smoke curled in the air like a smirk. Miguel's wedding ring caught the light as he rubbed his thumb over it, shoulders tight. He wouldn't look at me. The blow came before the words. Dad, you won't be welcome here for Thanksgiving. The sentence hit harder than a fall on black ice. I blinked, hunting for the misunderstanding that wasn't there. What do you mean? Not welcome. He stared at the coffee table, marble, imported, unnecessary, another thing my money had bought. Isabella's parents are coming. They prefer a certain atmosphere. A certain atmosphere. I let my eyes travel the room like a ledger. Curtain rods, my card, floors, my refinance, crown molding, my bad back. Every surface said I belonged here, only the people didn't. And where do I fit, I asked, in this atmosphere? Miguel's voice got smaller with every word. Maybe Aunt Rosa's. Or we could do something the weekend after. The weekend after. Like gratitude could be reheated on Monday. I stood. The family photos along the hallway told a mean little story. The longer the years went by, the smaller I became in the frame. My hand found the doorknob. I didn't turn around. Son, I said, tell Isabella's parents I wish them a very happy Thanksgiving. Cold air slapped my face on the porch. Behind me, Miguel said my name once, soft. Then the door clicked with the kind of finality rich people buy and poor people learn to respect. I sat in my truck for a moment, engine off, dignity aching. Houses on the street blinked with warm lights. In each window, shapes moved, people who belonged to one another. My phone buzzed. I didn't look. I turned the key and let the engine growl the way I felt. At the light on 29th and Grand, a young father loaded boxes wrapped in cartoon turkeys into the back of his SUV. Little faces fogged the glass with excited breath. I swallowed a memory so large it scratched my throat. Miguel at 5, a second-hand bike, Maria laughing as joy spilled all over our small kitchen floor. Then the numbers attacked like a broken slot machine. $2,800 a month, 5 years. Mortgage when he lost his job. Down payment, kitchen overhaul, HOA fines. Utility shut-off notices I paid at 9:02 a.m., standing in line with a paper ticket and a fake smile. Grocery runs I pretended were extras. My calculator had given up months ago. I hadn't. $180,000. No. When I finally added it right, the sum stared back like an accusation. $237,168. The price of being the kind of father who helps. I turned down 5th Street. That's where I'd refinanced my house, mine and Maria's, so their dream address wouldn't slip away. The loan officer had asked if I was sure. Love answered for me. My driveway greeted me with cracked concrete I couldn't afford to fix. The porch light flickered like an old man winking. Inside, the silence of my kitchen was honest. Maria's photo on the mantel met my eyes with that calm, amused look she used when I was about to do something foolish and generous. The phone rang. Isabella. I let it dance to the fourth ring before I showed up to my own life. "John," she said, syrup poured over knives, "about the little misunderstanding." "There isn't one," I said. "You were clear. My parents are traditional. They expect conversation about literature, art, current events. You understand, right? I thought about Sundays when money was tight and my pots saved their dinners. I thought about her calling my stuffing better than Grandma's. The memory can be brutal when a lie gets dressed up. And what would I contribute, I asked. Stories about tile and spackle, about working with my hands so your feet never touched a bare floor? Don't be dramatic, John. It's not about that. It's about class, education. My mother speaks 4 languages. Also, your food, so spicy, so loud, doesn't fit the tone. She'd rehearsed that line. I could hear the capital letters on tone. "This conversation is over," I said, my voice dropping into somewhere steady and unfamiliar. "So is our theater of family." "You can't," she began. "I can," I said, "and I will." I hung up. The air got lighter, as if I'd opened a window I didn't know was painted shut. I pulled a thick manila folder from the drawer I avoided. Statements, receipts, proof that I was generous, and they were very comfortable letting me be. I dialed the bank. "I need to cancel an automatic transfer." "The $2,800 on the 15th, the woman asked, fingers tapping. "To the mortgage servicer." "That's the one," I said. "Effective immediately." A small silence. "Done. Anything else?" I looked around my kitchen. The old appliances that still worked, the paint that needed love, the window that leaked cold because I'd spent my home improvement money making sure someone else's lights looked beautiful from the street. "No," I said. "That's everything." I gathered the papers like you collect pieces of a self you intend to keep. Then I walked to the fireplace, struck a match, and fed 5 years of martyrdom to the flame. Heat licked my face the way affection used to. I took down the bottle of good whiskey I'd been saving for a special occasion that never managed to arrive. I poured 2 fingers, raised the glass to Maria's smile. "To me," I said, "Happy Thanksgiving." The whiskey tasted like relief that had been waiting politely for permission. My phone vibrated again, apologies, demands, a favor wrapped up as family. I let it buzz itself tired. Imagine waking up and realizing that what you called love was mostly a habit of making yourself small. I woke up that night. Morning came pale and quiet, a cold November sun leaning weakly through my kitchen blinds. The world felt different, not softer, cleaner. I poured myself a cup of real coffee for once, not the cheap brand I'd been settling for while sending thousands into a black hole labeled Mortgage Auto Pay. The steam carried a smell I hadn't tasted in years. Freedom. At exactly 10:46 a.m., my phone rang. Isabella. I took a slow sip before answering. "John," she said, in that voice people use when they're talking to the help. "I need you to pick up my parents from the airport this afternoon. Their flight gets in at 2. You'll recognize them. They're very distinguished." I stared at the mug in my hand, wondering if I'd hallucinated the call. "Isabella," I said calmly, "did you forget about our conversation yesterday? Look, whatever that was about, we have to move past it. My parents need a ride. You have the truck, you're free, and you know the city." Her confidence was breathtaking. Less than 24 hours after telling me I wasn't good enough to sit at her table, she was commanding me to be her chauffeur. "Why are you asking me?" She sighed, annoyed by the question itself. "Because that's what family does, John. They help each other. Besides, let's be honest, you're not my rival. You're harmless. Harmless." A word like a slap wrapped in velvet. "What airline?" I asked evenly. "Delta, flight 223. They'll be at baggage claim 3. And please wear something appropriate. Maybe that blue shirt from Miguel's graduation. They notice things like that." She hung up without a thank you. I set the phone down, turned off the burner under my coffee pot, and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the clock. 10:52 a.m. Plenty of time. I smiled to myself. Plenty of time, I repeated out loud, testing the shape of the words. Then I opened the newspaper, turned to the crossword, and found a clue that made me laugh out loud. 7 across, delayed gratification, 12 letters. I filled it in slowly. Postponement, yes. Some things were worth waiting for. At 2:15 p.m., while the Jenkinses were stepping off their flight and scanning the crowd for the servant who would never come, I was sitting in my recliner with a mug of Earl Grey and the Sunday edition of the Spokane Review. The sun slanted across the living room, warming the old photos of Maria on the wall. The house felt peaceful, deliberate. My phone started buzzing on the table. Isabella, then again, and again. I let it ring. At 2:47, a text preview lit the screen. "Dad, where are you? My parents have been waiting 40 minutes. I turned the phone face down and returned to the sports section. The Seahawks were losing again. Comforting consistency. By 3:30, she'd called 6 times. I brewed a second pot of tea and organized my junk drawer. Loose screws, old receipts, a key I no longer recognized. Amazing what you can accomplish when you stop being at everyone else's beck and call. At 3:45, an unknown number tried. Probably her parents borrowing someone's phone at the airport. I let that one ring too. Outside, a neighbor was hanging lights with his kids. Normal people, in normal houses, living normal lives where kindness wasn't currency. At 4:15, the buzzing became constant, angry, relentless. My landline joined in, shrill as a guilty conscience. I walked to the wall jack, unplugged it, then turned my cell phone off completely. The silence afterward was exquisite. I made myself a grilled cheese sandwich and a cup of tomato soup, the kind Maria used to make when the world felt heavy. The cheese melted perfectly golden. I ate slowly, savoring each bite, the sound of nothing filling the air. Outside, the light was fading to that cold blue that only November understands. I pictured 3 people standing outside baggage claim, arguing about taxi fares and respectability, watching their pride unravel under fluorescent lights. For the first time in years, I laughed while eating alone. By 5 o'clock, dinner was done, dishes washed, kitchen spotless. I was choosing a movie when pounding shook my front door. Hard, angry, entitled pounding. I didn't hurry. Some music deserves an entrance. Through the peephole I saw them, 3 shapes glowing red with fury under the porch light. When I opened the door, Cody Jenkins nearly fell into my house. His face was the color of bad wine. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he bellowed, stomping past me like he owned the place. "We waited 3 hours at that goddamn airport." Catherine followed, her expensive hair deflated by humidity, her lips pressed into a line that could slice marble. "This is barbaric, John, absolutely barbaric. You left us there like common people." Then Isabella, mascara smudged, voice trembling with the effort of outrage. "You humiliated us," she cried. "My parents had to take a taxi, $40. Do you understand what you've done?" I closed the door gently behind them. "Get out of my house," I said quietly. They froze. The calm in my voice startled them more than shouting could. "Excuse me," Cody barked. "You heard me. This is my house. You weren't invited. Leave." Catherine stepped forward, her tone dripping with condescension. "You clearly don't understand who you're dealing with. My husband has connections in this city. Business, social, legal. You can't treat people like us this way and—" "This was a lesson," I interrupted softly. Cody blinked. "A what?" "A lesson," I repeated. "About humility. About what happens when you mistake kindness for servitude." Isabella's jaw dropped. "A lesson? You think you can teach us something? You're nobody." "No," I said. "I'm somebody who finally stopped paying for your arrogance." I opened the door again, gesturing toward the dark driveway. "Class is dismissed." Cody jabbed a finger toward me, but didn't dare touch. "You have no idea who you're messing with, old man. I've been in this town for 30 years. I know people who can make your life very difficult." "Is that a threat, Mr. Jenkins?" "It's a promise." Catherine's smile could have cut glass. "Actions have consequences, John, and yours will be public." They left in a storm of designer fabric and self-importance. I locked the door behind them, the deadbolt clicking like applause. Through the window, I watched their car swerve down the street, their argument still raging. My living room felt lighter once their shadows were gone, but their words lingered. Public consequences. I picked up my mug of tea, still warm. For a moment, I felt something that could have been fear, but it passed quickly, replaced by something sharper, anticipation. Some lessons take time to sink in, and I had all the time in the world. 3 days passed. By then, the peace in my house had settled into something almost musical, the sound of nothing being taken from me. I woke up early, brewed my coffee, fed the neighbor's cat that liked to sneak into my yard, and sat down with the Spokane Review, like I had every morning since 1985, but that Wednesday, my coffee went cold halfway to my lips. Page 3, my face. Smiling, older, the photo from my old business website, J. Flores and Sons Contracting. The headline read, "Local widower abandons elderly couple at airport during winter storm." The world went silent. I read the first paragraph once, then again, slower. Cody and Catherine Jenkins, visiting their daughter for Thanksgiving, were left stranded for over 4 hours at Spokane International Airport when family member John Flores failed to appear for a pre-arranged pickup. The couple, both in their late 50s, endured freezing temperatures as a winter storm warning was issued for the area. Freezing temperatures? It had been 52 degrees and sunny. The article continued, dripping with pity. "We couldn't believe someone could abandon us like that," said retired bank executive Cody Jenkins. "We called and called, but he never answered. We were forced to pay an expensive taxi fare. At our age, it was frightening." Then came the twist of the knife. Sources close to the family expressed concern about Mr. Flores's erratic behavior and declining mental health. I didn't need to finish it. I could already hear the neighbors whispering, see the clerks at the grocery store softening their voices like I was unstable, dangerous, pitiful. My hands didn't shake. Not yet. Instead, something colder moved through me. Not rage, not shame, but a kind of precision. I turned to the byline. Patricia Morrison, lifestyle editor. A name I didn't recognize, but I recognized strategy. Cody Jenkins hadn't yelled his last threat out of pride. He'd meant it. The man had pulled strings, used his banker friends to place this story exactly where it would do the most damage, in the homes of people who believed everything they read before breakfast. It wasn't slander. It was chess. And they thought I didn't know the rules. I folded the newspaper carefully and set it aside. The same hands that once held a trowel and hammer now itched for something else, justice. When I retired, I'd built houses. Now I was going to build a reckoning. By noon, I was at my desk, laptop glowing like a confession booth. I typed in names: Cody Jenkins, Catherine Jenkins, Isabella Flores. Their lives unfolded across the screen like an open wound. Cody's profile on LinkedIn: former bank manager, treasurer of a local business leaders association, proud of his Ethics in Finance award from 2018. His reputation was his religion. Catherine's Instagram: a parade of perfect charity luncheons, vineyard vacations, pose photos with captions like "Blessed Life" and "Gratitude in Style." Every image dripping with curated superiority. Isabella's Facebook: the jackpot. There she was, all smiles in the kitchen I'd paid for. Posts bragging about our beautiful home and hosting Thanksgiving with family. Hosting. I scrolled further back. Photos of their remodel, granite countertops, $18,000 of my money. A post about their dream home purchase, down payment, $47,000 from my home equity line. Weekly check-ins at restaurants during months I was covering their mortgage. And then a status from 3 days before the article. So excited for Thanksgiving dinner with family. Can't wait to show off our hosting skills. My jaw clenched. My finger hovered over the trackpad. Then, in Miguel's LinkedIn activity feed, I saw it. A new connection request. Patricia Morrison, the reporter. There it was. The bridge between humiliation and proof. My son's wife's parents had planted the story, and my son had let them. For a long moment, I just sat there. The quiet in my house was different now, not peaceful but electric. They'd made 3 mistakes. 1, they underestimated me. 2, they went public. 3, they documented their entire hypocrisy online. I took a deep breath, exhaled slowly, and opened a new document. The title read, "The Truth About the Jenkins Family." For the next 8 hours, I built my case like an engineer rebuilding a bridge he once let collapse. Receipts, bank transfers, cancelled checks. I printed them all. The down payment, $47,000. Kitchen renovation, $18,000. Monthly mortgage payments, $2,800 times 60. Utilities, landscaping, property taxes, total $237,468. Then I added screenshots, their posts flaunting the luxuries my sacrifices had purchased, the designer handbags, the vacations, the captions about hard work paying off. Every dollar I'd sent had built the stage where they performed their fake perfection. By nightfall, my living room floor was covered in proof. My proof. Years of bleeding out for people who used my generosity as wallpaper. I organized it all into 12 identical packets, one for each guest at their precious Thanksgiving dinner. On top of each, a copy of the Spokane Review article, annotated in red ink. Lie, next to the fake storm. False, beside their claims of victimhood. Missing context, beside every line that called me unstable. December 24th was circled on my calendar. Not for Christmas, for justice. Isabella's Facebook said they were hosting 12 guests that evening. Family, friends, neighbors, the same people who believed what they read in the paper. Perfect. I glanced at Maria's photo on the mantel. "You'd tell me to let it go," I said softly. "But you'd also tell me to stand tall." Her smile didn't change, but I knew which advice she'd mean first. That night, I packed the folders into my briefcase and set out my navy blue suit, the one from Maria's funeral. Pressed, polished, ready. Tomorrow I'd wear it again, not for mourning this time, for resurrection. Thanksgiving Eve arrived grey and sharp, the kind of cold that smells like snow but never keeps its promise. Spokane streets shimmered under thin frost as I shaved, pressed my suit, and laid everything out like evidence in a courtroom. Bank statements, cancelled checks, mortgage slips, screenshots of their online lies, 12 neat folders, one for each seat at the Jenkins family's Thanksgiving table. When I zipped my briefcase shut, the sound felt like a verdict. At 6:15 p.m., I parked across the street from their mansion in Kendall Yards. Their house glowed golden, the kind of light that tries too hard to look like warmth. Cars lined the driveway, laughter leaked from behind the glass. Through the wide front windows, I could see Isabella, radiant in silk, raising a glass in a toast. Cody and Catherine sat at the ends of the table like royalty. Miguel was beside her, smiling a smile I didn't recognize anymore. I checked my watch. 6:43. Perfect. Dinner was in full swing. I stepped out of the truck, straightened my tie, and walked up their perfect stone path. The air smelled of cinnamon and arrogance. The front door was unlocked. Of course it was. People like that never believe they'll need to keep anyone out. Warm air hit my face. The same heat I'd been paying for through their utility bills last winter. I followed the laughter through the hallway until I reached the dining room doorway. 12 faces turned toward me at once. Forks froze mid-air. Conversation stopped like a record scratch. "Good evening," I said, my voice steady. "I hope you don't mind if I join you." Isabella's wine glass trembled. "John, this is completely inappropriate. You need to leave." Actually," I said, placing my briefcase gently on the sideboard, "I think everyone here deserves to hear a little truth before dessert." Cody stood up halfway. "Now see here." "Sit down," I said, so calmly it wasn't a request. He sat. I opened the briefcase, took out the first stack of folders, and began walking slowly around the table, placing one in front of each guest. "These are your host's bank records," I said evenly. 5 years of mortgage payments, renovations, down payments and bills, all paid by me, not by Miguel and Isabella, not by the Jenkins family fortune, by the old widower who wasn't good enough for Thanksgiving dinner. You could hear the sound of 12 envelopes opening, the rustle of disbelief. "This is absurd," Catherine hissed. "You volunteered." "I did," I said, "and every dollar came with trust, not obligation. But then your daughter decided I didn't fit the atmosphere of her table. A woman I didn't recognize, Pearls, probably one of Catherine's charity friends, frowned as she flipped through the papers. "This can't be right," she said softly. "There are transfers here for years." $237,568, I supplied. "That's the total, not including furniture, repairs, and the granite countertops your daughter insisted were necessary for her entertaining." The guests murmured. Forks were quietly set down. Isabella's voice cracked under its own weight. "You're making this sound ugly. It's not like that. You offered to help." "Offered," I repeated. "And when I stopped, your husband's parents used their connections to smear me in the newspaper as an unstable old man. Does that sound like gratitude?" Cody found his voice. "You humiliated us, left us stranded like criminals." "You mean when I didn't come fetch you from the airport?" I asked. "After being told I wasn't welcome in the house I paid for?" He swallowed, didn't answer. I laid a copy of the Spokane Review article in the center of the table. Red ink covered the margins. "Let's go over this work of fiction together," I said. 52 degrees and sunny. No winter storm. No erratic behavior. No crime, except maybe believing that helping family meant something. Miguel's eyes finally met mine. For a second, I saw the boy who used to run across the yard with a football too big for his hands. Then the man came back, trapped between shame and shock. "Dad," he whispered, "I didn't know about the article, I swear." "Your wife did," I said, "and her parents wrote the script." One of the men at the table, a neighbor, I guessed, looked from me to Cody. "Is this true?" he demanded. Catherine tried to regain control, her smile brittle as glass. "Everyone, this is clearly a misunderstanding." "Enough," I said quietly. "You spent years teaching your daughter how to climb social ladders built on other people's backs. Congratulations, she learned well." The woman with pearls leaned toward Isabella. "You told me your husband inherited money. That's how you bought this house." Isabella's lips quivered. "It's complicated." "No," I said. "It's arithmetic." Silence filled the room like fog, heavy, suffocating, honest. Every guest was staring at them now, the Golden family stripped to their foundation. Cody tried one last time. "You have no idea the damage you've done." "Oh, I do," I said. "And it's the first damage I'm proud of." I closed my briefcase, straightened my jacket. "Enjoy your meal," I said, turning toward the door. "It's the last one I'll ever pay for." As I walked down their perfect marble hallway, the sound began. Rising voices, arguments, panic, Catherine crying, Isabella begging Miguel to say something, anything. It was chaos. But to me, it was music. Outside, the night was still and cold. I breathed it in like medicine. In their glowing window behind me, silhouettes fought under the chandelier I'd helped them buy. Inside, everything they'd built on lies was collapsing, quietly, beautifully, like the slow fall of snow no one deserves to see. That night, I poured myself another drink by the fire. For the first time in a long time, I didn't toast to anyone else. To peace, I said softly, and to finally coming home. Maria's photo caught the firelight, smiling as if she approved. Beautiful. You're ready for the ending. Spring came to Spokane like a reluctant apology. Snowmelt ran down the gutters, birds began gossiping in the trees, and the air finally smelled of something new. Growth, maybe, or peace. I was having my second cup of coffee when the mail truck stopped outside my house. The carrier knocked twice. "Signature required," she said. The envelope was heavy, official, stamped certified mail. In bold letters, notice of default, final demand for payment. I didn't need to open it, I already knew. 3 months of missed mortgage payments. The house I'd built for them, the one my money had saved more times than they'd thanked me, was sliding into foreclosure. I set the letter on the counter, poured more coffee, and smiled. The universe, it seemed, had its own collection agency. For weeks, my phone had been a museum of desperation. Blocked numbers, voicemails full of anger disguised as panic. Isabella's voice pleading, then threatening, then begging again. Cody's measured tones breaking into shouts. Even Catherine, who'd once told me I wasn't fit for their table, leaving a message that ended with sobs. I hadn't answered a single one. But then, one Thursday evening, just as the sun was dipping behind the pines, there came a knock. Not pounding, not entitled, just hesitant. I opened the door and found my son. Miguel looked like life had been chewing on him for months. The perfect suit wrinkled, eyes hollow, pride scraped raw. "Dad," he said quietly, "can we talk?" I stepped aside. "Of course." He walked in slowly, glancing around my living room as though it were a foreign country. Fresh paint, new curtains, furniture that didn't creak, all bought with my first few months of peace. "Nice place," he murmured. "It's what happens," I said, "when you spend money on yourself instead of people who only remember you at bill time." He gave a small, sad laugh. "Fair." We sat, me in my chair, him on the couch, like strangers pretending to be family. He cleared his throat. "Dad, I need to say this before anything else. I'm sorry, for all of it. Thanksgiving, the newspaper, the way we treated you." I didn't speak. Silence can be heavier than anger. "I didn't know Cody planted that story," he said. "When I found out, I confronted him. He said you brought it on yourself, that you embarrassed them. But the things they said about you, about Mom—" He stopped, voice breaking. I looked up sharply. "What about your mother? They said she knew her place better than you, that she understood boundaries." Boundaries. As if decency was something my Maria had ever lacked. "Did you defend her?" I asked softly. Tears filled his eyes. "No, not then. I should have." "Yes," I said, "you should have." We sat in the thick quiet that comes when 2 generations of pride finally stop fighting for oxygen. Outside, the neighbors' kids were playing catch, their laughter drifting in through the open window. Normal sounds, from normal families. Then he said it, the sentence that had been circling him since the moment he arrived. "The house, it's in foreclosure." "I know," I said. "We can't make the payments without your help." He winced at his own words. "Without your money." I leaned forward, elbows on knees. "Do you know how much I sent you over 5 years?" He nodded miserably. 200,000, give or take. 237,468, I corrected. "Every penny accounted for. Every one of them bought your comfort and my silence." He closed his eyes. "I don't know how to fix it." "You can't," I said. but you can start learning from it." He looked up, eyes red. "I've lost you, haven't I?" I studied him for a long moment, this man I'd raised, the boy who once believed I could fix anything. "You didn't lose me, son," I said quietly. "You gave me away. There's a difference." He swallowed hard. "Is there any chance you could forgive me?" I nodded. "I already did, months ago, but forgiveness isn't a reset button. It's a boundary line. It means I can wish you well without standing under the same roof that used to leak guilt onto my head." He nodded slowly. "So, what happens now?" "You grow up," I said simply. "Sell the house, get a job that pays for the life you can actually afford, and next time you call something family, make sure it acts like one." He stood, uncertain, then stepped forward and did something I hadn't expected. He hugged me. For a second, neither of us moved. The years between us shrank to nothing but breath and regret. When he pulled away, his voice cracked. "I was proud of you that night, you know." "At dinner?" He nodded. "You stood up for yourself. You looked them in the eye and didn't flinch. I was angry then, embarrassed, but proud too." I smiled faintly. "Good. Maybe there's hope for you yet." He left quietly. That Sunday, my phone buzzed with a new message. Not from Miguel, not from Isabella, but from Rosa, my late wife's sister. "Dinner tomorrow. The kids want to show you their school projects. Bring your guitar." I texted back, "Wouldn't miss it." When I arrived, their little cottage smelled of roasted chicken and laughter. Rosa's grandchildren ran to me, waving construction paper and glue-covered masterpieces. At the table, there were no fine wines, no silver candlesticks, no talk of connections or status, just people who were happy to see me, no price tag attached. As I lifted a glass of sweet tea, I realized something. Family isn't blood. It's the people who never make you feel like you're auditioning to stay. I raised my glass toward the old photo of Maria that Rosa kept by the window. "To real family," I whispered. Outside, the spring wind rustled the trees, soft and forgiving. The whiskey at home could wait. Tonight, warmth came from simpler things: respect, forgiveness, and the sound of belonging. When I drove home later, the lights of Spokane twinkled like distant stars. I didn't think about the house I'd lost for them, or the money I'd never see again. I thought about tomorrow, about fixing my porch light, buying fresh paint, maybe booking that trip to the coast Maria and I used to dream about. The future looked wide open, and for the first time in years, I was free to walk straight into it, without owing anyone a damn thing. If stories like this move you, tap the like button, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next tale.